Welcome to another edition of Reclaiming Timeless Ways with Mike Traster, Simon Fuller, you. We were just arguing about what the star of the show is. Really, Mike, it's you said the ideas, I said you. Really, the star is the viewer, right?
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, so we were both wrong. Not the first, won't be the last. All right, today's episode, buying a car, buying a vehicle. You know, Mike, we're just kind of going into more of a practical conversation. I guess it's something virtually everybody has, right? That's watching the show, or most will purchase a car in their lifetime. Right. So what do you got for me? Us.
Well, I've had more than a few cars in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I think my first car I got in 1969.
Okay.
And it was an old Rambler sedan. It was my grandfather's, and it was a sweet gift. It was for me to be able to go back and forth to junior college. It didn't work really well. It was dangerous. The brakes locked up on me a couple times.
Bit dangerous.
And so did the steering wheel going around a turn.
Oh, boy.
It locked, and I was lifting really heavy, and I actually forced it to unlock, and I broke something inside. Something fell off, and it jammed it. So it came free, so I didn't have a wreck, but I could have. But cars were so much simpler.
Sure. And you ask any mechanic, they'll agree with you.
Oh my goodness! I mean, like, if you said to me today, I'm going to put a new thermostat in my car, I would say, you going to do it yourself?
Yeah.
Right? But back then it was like, there was this little piece with 3 bolts in the front of the engine with a hose coming into it that came off the radiator, and that was it.
Right.
You know, it was a 20-minute job, maybe an hour if something was in the way.
Right.
But it was 10 bolts. And it was very hard, unless you turned the bolts too tight and broke off one of those tabs, you couldn't do it wrong. So when you're buying a car, you have to ask yourself, not what do I deserve, but what can I afford? Is it safe? Is it reliable? So you start asking questions.
And functional for what I need.
Right.
You know, do you have a big family?
Right.
Well, then a 2-door coupe probably isn't the wisest choice, even though that might be what you want.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Right. So the need versus want is
Yeah.
huge. Right?
And you know how often we, all of us, American marketing especially, not just America, but I'll pick on American marketing just a little bit, has tricked us into turning a want into a need,
Right.
helping us justify
Right.
a want into a need.
Oh, goodness.
And they're very different.
They
The
are.
definitions are very different.
Right.
So be clear, we're talking about needs, not the want needs.
So years ago, somebody wanted to give me give me dirt cheap, this old huge Cadillac Eldorado that they have. And he said, it really runs okay, but it needs a couple of shock absorbers. And I thought, oh, no big deal. $900 for shock absorbers.
Yeah.
It's like an electrical shock absorber. And I'm like, what the F is an electrical shock absorber? You know, it like adjusts itself electronically.
Right,
and I'm
right.
like, I want a shock absorber.
Right.
That's all I want.
Right.
So I didn't trust him anyway. So I said, thank you, but somebody else needs it more than I do.
Yeah.
But one of the things you can ask a mechanic a 1-minute question. 1-minute questions nobody will be mad about.
Right.
Do you consider this car generally reliable? Kinda. Kinda means no.
Right.
Yes. Yes means yes. No. No means no.
Right.
And then you just go and you start looking up parts. Brakes, alternators.
Yeah, so some of the basic things that you know in the vehicle lifetime will probably need to be dealt with.
Right. And that, and then you look up the repair time,
Yeah.
right? Excuse me. Because it might cost $1,000 in labor to put a $100 part in
Sure.
the car. you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some vehicles where they've got the batteries tucked back under where you literally have to take the wheel off to change a battery, a front wheel. Like, are you kidding me?
Right, yeah. And well, then, how much would it cost if I bought the car for $1, but it was $2,500 to insure it?
Right,
Is it a $1 car
right.
or no? So, you know, which parts, are there parts that consistently fail on this car?
Yeah,
You know, ask those questions. You just write that down on the internet like a 12-year-old.
right,
Excuse me, and you're going to get a good answer.
yeah,
And you're going to get a goer. And then you ask yourself, how much can I afford on a monthly basis to put into repairs?
right.
100, 250? Be honest.
Yeah.
If you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to get an honest answer, and you're going to get trapped.
Right.
All that money's going to be gone.
Right. Yeah, you'll find it, that same thing kind of happens in the housing market
Yeah,
where here's our range, our budget
right.
that our monthly income can afford. And almost always we end up at the top of that budget, or too often. But they haven't factored in the remainder of it. A house doesn't just cost the house payment.
No,
There's taxes associated with that. There's insurance associated with that. A bigger house means bigger yard usually, more repairs, more equipment to take care of this, that, or the other. So, I mean,
heating, cooling.
correct. The water bill, the everything that comes with that maybe you hadn't thought of in advance.
Right.
Okay, boy, that's stretching our limit. $500, $1,000, $750, that's stretching it, but it's within budget. But have you considered everything?
How much is it going to cost to remove that gorgeous shade tree that's too close to your roof?
Right,
Do you have that $1,500 or $2,000?
right,
And what if there's 3 trees?
right.
Now all of a sudden you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know, so really buying a car, buying a house,
Very similar in that
Yeah.
respect.
yeah. Because it's not just the price tag on the showroom floor.
Right.
It's how much is all of it.
What's the fuel economy? How many miles do you put on it? What's the price per gallon of fuel?
Right.
Did you consider that?
How much is a fuel injector?
Right.
How hard is it to get to it? Oh, the fuel injector's only $80. Oh, but it's 3.5 hours
At a shop rate of $75 an hour.
or more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think typically they're 90 and up now.
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you got a secret I need to know. So when you look at the basic parts, what are the basic things that fail? Exhaust systems.
Sure.
Where they fail or they wear out. Exhaust.
Yeah, a lot of salt and corrosives
Right.
in, Midwest roads.
Right. Water pumps.
Yeah.
Oil pumps. Fuel pumps. Right.
Tires, brakes, eventually rotors potentially.
So you look up, go to 3 parts houses, either a physical parts house or one online, and look up the price for 3.
Yep.
And then you'll know, can I afford this piece of bad news or not?
Right.
How much, if I have to spend $1,500 getting something fixed,
Right.
how long is it going to take me to, do I have that in the bank that I can comfortably remove? Or how long will it take me to pay it off
Yeah.
and not lie to myself, oh, I can do it.
Right.
It'll work out.
Right.
So, and then look up lemon laws. Lemon law basically tells you when a car was a pile of crap and it had a bunch of recalls.
Yeah.
You don't want to buy a car like that.
Right.
Every now and then they'll build a car that's just garbage.
Yeah.
I remember the original Ford Taurus had a very notoriously bad transmission.
There was a year where, or a few years where Dodge Intrepids did too.
Okay.
Notorious for that. Notorious for the transmissions.
Okay.
Before they hit 100,000 miles.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I think the tranny should last much more than 100,000. Were these infinitely variable transmissions? A lot of them fail.
Yeah.
You know, they're a beautiful idea that has not really been perfected.
Yeah.
So they wear out
Yeah.
in a hurry. Now you're out $4 or $5 grand.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know. So if you buy the car for $1,000, you got a deal, and then you put only $1,200 in it, so it's still a deal. But now all of a sudden, you're in it for $2,200. So you're in it,
Yeah.
and now you need a transmission. It's $4 grand. You're almost trapped to buying it because
Right.
of how much you already spent.
Right.
So
And it's worthless. You can't sell it as it is.
No,
So you
yeah.
can't get anything out of it.
it's $100 for a scrapper.
Right.
Right. You're stuck. You know, so if you only research what you want to know,
You'll find it.
you're going to get so hosed.
Yeah.
You know?
That is the beautiful thing about internet, but also the dangerous thing. We can find what we want to find if that's all we're willing to look at.
Right.
Be
Very much.
willing to read something that might go against your grain. You might just learn something, Mike.
What's
Boy.
the bad news? You have to ask what the bad news is. You
Right.
must. If you don't ask that question, or your friends aren't willing to tell you, you know.
And
Some-
you got to spend some time because those friends online, you know, they're people barking, right? Now you got to decide because you go through all the reviews. Big thing nowadays. I mean, you do it, Mike. If you're going to buy a product, you now have the capability to not just go ask that mechanic, but you can look online and you'll find 1,000 reviews.
Oh yeah.
Now, are you going to stop after you read 3 of them?
I'm gonna
Because
read a bunch.
yeah, because the first person or two might have an axe to grind.
Right.
Or the first 1 or 2 that you read and say something negative. First 1 or 2 you read, you wonder, is that someone that's paid to say these nice things?
Right.
You better get a big enough sample size to make an educated decision.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you look at some of the big stores online, some of those reviews are pure
You,
crap.
you know they are. You
Yeah.
know it just by the verbiage, and they all kind of sound the same. And then you see a person or two, and you're like, well, they're just pissed off. Who knows why? And
Right,
maybe they
yeah,
had a
axe
reason,
to
but
grind,
maybe
right.
not. But yeah, okay, we can throw that really good one out. We can throw that really bad. Let's see what the majority. Let me read 20. Let me read 30, 40. You got 50. Read them. You get a good feel.
I asked the guy at Walmart once, I said, I'm bringing these tires back. I don't want them. They're dangerous on wet roads. Do you have children? He wouldn't talk to me. I said, I want to ask you a serious personal question. I know you're not going to help me with these terrible tires. I accept that. I resent that you're not talking to me about it. I understand you've been told not to,
Yeah.
that your job is at stake. So I'm going to ask you a simple question. Do you have children
Yeah.
that ride in your car? Because if you do not buy these tires. I don't care if Walmart gives them to you for free.
Yeah.
These Douglas all-season radials are great, as I've said before, on dry roads, and they are a nightmare on rain or snow or ice.
Yeah.
They'll get you killed,
Yeah.
you know? So I got a set of Goodyears. It cost me $200 to upgrade, which should have been free,
Yeah.
but it still wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And those tires are decent.
Yeah.
They're not perfect, but they're decent.
Yeah.
So that's it.
All right.
How to buy a car.
Compliments of Mike and some practical tips and things to think about. Appreciate you joining us for this episode of Reclaiming Timeless Waste. Have a fantastic day.